Om Gurave Namah. Okay, so we did up to the fourth bhava last time. So now we progress up to the fifth house. We come to the first trine, the first kona of the horoscope, the Lakshmi Sthana, and this is called Putra Bhava. As I mentioned to you last time, that the names that we are using for the houses are the names specifically used by Parashara. So the fifth house is often called Mantra Bhava as well. The fourth Bhava is also called Matru Bhava or Sukha Bhava, right? But we have used those terms which is particularly used by him. That is why the third house or the third Bhava, we have called it the Dushchikya Bhava and not Sahaja Bhava and Bhakti Bhava. So we come to Putra Bhava. So now the Lagna Bhava has a very unique role. And what is that unique role? The unique role is that it is both a Kendra and a Kona. Can all of you hear me? Because my net has just gone away. Okay. So the Lagna Bhava, that is the first house, is both a Kendra and a Kona. How? The first house, the fourth house, the seventh house, and the 10th house, these four houses are Kendra. Insofar, the first house is a Kendra. But at another level, the first house and the fifth house and the ninth house are known as the Kona, the Trikona, or the trine houses. So we have the Lagna Bhava is both a Kendra and a Kona. So hence, doubly reinforcing its importance. Now, the Lagna Konas, that is the first, fifth, and ninth houses, naturally carries the energy of the sun. Because it carries the energy of the sun, and it is naturally ruled also by the sun in the Kalpurusha, because in the Kalpurusha, the fifth house is Leo, and the ruler of Leo Simha is Surya. So the attributes of Surya will naturally come into the fifth house, although the Karaka, that is the significator, is Jupiter. The significator is Jupiter, but the fifth house carries the energy of the sun. Just the way the Lagna carries a very strong energy of the Agni Tattva, being ruled by Mangal, and the Karaka being Surya. All right. Now, first, fifth, and ninth house, we see the Lagna Bhava is me, so that is the present. We say the ninth house is the past. Okay, it is the past. Hence, my father is indicated in the ninth house. It shows past karmas. Okay, it shows the link from which we have come. And so the ninth house is my father, it is the past. His child, the fifth from that, is me, which is the present, that is the Lagna. And my future is the fifth from me, which is the fifth house, which is my child. Have you got that clearly? That the ninth house is father, the past, the Lagna is me, the present, and the fifth house is the future and my child. Hence, this is called Putra Bhava. The Karaka for this Bhava is Jupiter. Therefore, Jupiter is a natural Karaka for children. You need to have a strong Guru. You need to have the blessings of Brihaspati in your chart to enable the child to come. You need to have the blessings of Surya, strong Surya, to enable a soul to come into this life. Because for a soul to come into this life, for a child to be born, we need two things. We need the Ojas, which is represented by the sperm, and we have Venus, which is showing that. And we need the soul to come in. There is a physical body and there is a soul. And that soul, or enabling the coming of the soul, is done by Surya. So Surya is the natural lord of this house. Okay. And Brihaspati is the Karaka. So this is the Putra Bhava. I hope you are slowly getting into it. The future, that is what I've written. The ninth house is the past and the fifth house is the future. Very, very interesting. Now, before I proceed further, I'm going to make a point which I think all of you know. And what is that point? That point is that both this fifth house and the ninth house and the Lagna house as well have very essential Gandanta. Is this ringing a familiar bell somewhere? Some of you who have already done a bit of Jyotish. So in the fifth house, you have this Gandanta, a Cancer Leo Gandanta, right? And in the ninth house, you have a Scorpio Sagittarius Gandanta. And in the Lagna, you have a Pisces Aries Gandanta. These are three basic Gandantas. And so we are moving through three parts of our life. And to cross these Gandantas, you need to make these big line jumps. These jumps, when there are movements in horoscope, they are known as gati. When we calculate how to calculate dashas, etc., they all move in certain gati. This gati is called the Simhavalokana gati. Who is Simha? Simha is nothing but the lion. So it's a Simhavalokana gati. And the Simhavalokana gati moves one line jump from the past to the future. The father has given birth to the next generation. If there are blockages, then no children shall come. And then another line jump from the Lagna to the fifth house, where my children or the next generation are born. If there are blockages over there, then that future generation does not come in. Okay. Now, hence, we see children from this fifth house. And all of those people who are like children. Now, who are like children? Students. Students are supposed to be like children. So students we will see from fifth house. Child we will see from fifth house. We see father from the ninth house. All these people who are like father. Who are like father? Like, for example, our teacher is like a father. Our guru is like a father. Our boss as well. I don't think in a modern day sort of an office system, but traditionally you can imagine somebody whom you work under. He is like a father, supposed to be like a father who took care of you. So therefore, if I can slowly extend this principle, if I am talking about the future, then the future, in another definition, is also something which can be foreseen, right? I am able to see beyond the present. I'm able to see beyond that. I'm able to see what will come. Hence, I'm able to predict. Okay, I'm able to forecast. So if I have a very fine fifth house, if I have a very good grip on the fifth house, if I have the blessings of the Guru and the luminaries in the fifth house, will the future be very open for me? Will I be able to see? That's why you will see when you hear the slides that it is mentioned Parashara Rektat Pashat, that is to see. One of the attributes of the fifth house is to see. Okay. Hence, for an astrologer, good planets in the fifth house is very, very important, because for us to see, we should have the ability to predict. When I have an horoscope in front of me, I should have some special visual power to see. Are you clear? What that seeing means is not the seeing through the eye, but it is that seeing, the ability to see the future. Okay? That is the ability to predict, ability to forecast. Are we clear on this? Okay. Now next, another very important factor which the fifth house talks about. Remember I told you that it is ruled by sun in the Naisargika Kalpurusha, and again the Karaka for this Bhava is Jupiter. So it actually rules the conscious mind. Chitta, the word is Chitta. It is also called Chitta Bhava. What is Chitta? Chitta is the conscious mind. Sometimes even the heart is called Chitta. Okay, the heart is also called Chitta, but that is not Hridaya. It is not the heart of the fourth house. In the fourth house, we did talk about the heart lotus, and we talked about the physical heart, and we talked about the Hridaya, all the people who are close to us, our childhood friends. Here we are not talking about that, but there is some sort of notion of a emotion out here. It is the emotional mind, the conscious mind. That is why, again, fifth house has to be clear. If this fifth house is damaged, we don't want a damaged mind. People who have problems with the mind, people who have psychological problems, people who have Alzheimer's, especially those with psychological problems, you must take a look at the fifth house. The fifth house in the chart is a very delicate house and has to be absolutely clear. So apart from the conscious mind, it also rules the intelligence. Remember, the house is lorded by Surya, so it rules intelligence. Now, because it rules intelligence, this house is also giving us Vidya. What is Vidya? That is education, both kinds of Vidya. More so, it gives Apara Vidya. Fourth house also deals with education. Fourth house deals more with Paravidya. The fifth house deals with Paravidya and Aparavidya. Aparavidya means what? Aparavidya means non-applicable sciences, like you are studying Jyotish, that is a Vedanga study, or if you are studying, for example, Ayurveda, or you are studying Vedic studies, these are all Aparavidya. Spiritual studies, these are all Aparavidya. Mantra Shastra, all Aparavidya. Fifth house is very important for that. Fifth house is important for any kind of knowledge and intelligence and aparavidya, also a bit of paravidya. So lots of people, who have Jupiter in the fifth house, they're brilliant absolutely. Their ability to learn and grasp the higher knowledge is fantastic. Okay? Now, you see this point that I've written over here, that chitta also means the heart. Okay? Chitta also means the heart, and therefore, what heart are we talking about? I told you the emotional mind. So we are talking about the love affairs as well. It is the house of love affairs. Okay. So this house, I told you, is very delicate for multiple reasons. Love affairs are seen from this house. So Shukra, a little bit more, not just love affairs. We see bhakti also, the bhakti for the divine, the bhakti for God. Whether somebody can say that they are not into bhakti, they are into jnana yoga. I perform rituals, I do pujas, I study all the scriptures, but I am not into bhakti yoga. Mirabai, somebody who listens to a lot of bhajans, somebody whose eyes water with devotion and love for God, somebody who surrenders to the divinity, that is bhakti yoga, pure bhakti. Okay? And then we have another section to it. And this other section is called mantra and yantra, a very important part. That is why often the fifth house is also called mantra bhava. Mantra and yantra, if you see Parashara Stotra, Shloka, it begins with mantra yantra. It is written. Mantra is what? All of you know what a mantra is. There are chants, there are mystic formulas which you utter in order to worship or evoke the divine. Okay? And yantra are the symbols. There are mystical symbols that we draw which are depicting the divine, depicting certain deities, and they are also used during rituals. So this mantra and yantra are seen from the fifth house. Now if you have Rahu over there in the fifth house Rahu can be both good and bad. If there is Rahu over there with another planet, that means you have the ability to master the knowledge of yantra. Because Rahu basically shows machines and machinery. And yantra is nothing but a diagram. It's like a little actual physical diagram which is made on beaten metal. It is also, of course, drawn on palm leaves as well, or on sand, or on mandalas with colored powder when puja is done. But it is otherwise done on these beaten metal shields. So Rahu comes in. Rahu gives the knowledge of yantra. Okay, Rahu can also give the knowledge of mantra. So Rahu in the fifth house, also you say the mantra tattva lingaya, it is called. Rahu in the fifth house can also give you the ability to see through people. Because Rahu is suspicious by nature, isn't it? So it gives you the ability to see through people. So, if somebody is a detective and they have, I think, Rahu in the fifth house, it would be a very good thing. Now you come back one more step. Now I told you it is the conscious mind, it is the chitta, right? That means what does mantra do? The definition of mantra is mana plus trai, that which protects the mind. When you utter mantras and you repeat it for 108 times, or 108 into 2 times, or 108 into 5 times, or 108 into 10 times, the more you repeat the mantra kind of creates a vibration in your mind. All right. The mantra creates a vibration in your mind. Those of you who do yoga, you know there is one mudra called the Brahmari Pranayama. When you do the Brahmari Pranayama, it's a sound of the beat which is made from the base of the throat. And it is said that if you can master it to perfection, it actually resonates and vibrates the brain. So you see, from the throat is where your mantra shakti is. Throat is from where you're uttering. Whatever you are uttering in the throat is having a vibratory effect on the mind or on the brain. And it is keeping your mind clear. It is keeping your mind pure. It is protecting your mind. All right. What happens if you're doing a bad mantra? What happens if somebody else is doing a bad mantra on you? All of you people talk about black magic, right? So what if somebody is doing a black magic? What if somebody is doing a bad mantra on you? Because if there is a bad mantra being done on you, then it will affect that chitta, because the fifth house also handles the conscious mind, as I wrote over here. So the chitta, the conscious mind, will get damaged. Your mind will get unbalanced. You will not be so-called normal. You will have psychological problems. Of course, you know, there are combinations which will show us whether the mantra, somebody is doing black magic or not. There are several combinations for it. You have to have the association, especially of Vata Kesha, with some bad combinations will give you that. We are not getting into that. It is a principle that you need to understand. What I need you to understand is this first or the second trine that we're studying, which is the fifth house. And by the way, if you have studied, you know, the write-ups that Guruji has put up on the website on the Kendras and the Konas, you will know that the fifth and ninth house, both these houses are all Lakshmi Sthana as well. This is where Lakshmi resides. So a very, very delicate house, because it controls the future, it sees the future, it is the conscious mind, it starts the next generation. All right, so many things over it. Now there is another point to it. When you study Vishesha Lagna, which you will do in the latter part of this year, you will see that the calculation of Ghatika Lagna is done with the fifth house in mind, the degree of the, or the longitude of the sunrise, and the longitude of the fifth house comes into consideration. So you will see that whenever fifth house is in consideration, we are talking about power, because Ghatika Lagna is to do with power. Okay, so we are talking about Rajya. What is Rajya? Rajya means the kingdom. Rajya means kingdom. And we are talking about power, the power that you sit on the throne and you're wielding the power of like a king. So we can see the rise of power and your downfall of that power. That is also seen from the fifth house. So have you seen what a delicate house this fifth house is? Okay. All right. Now I shall move into the next bhava. Now we come to the Shashta bhava. That is the sixth house. Parashara has called it Shashta bhava. Many people call it Ripu bhava, this bhava, that bhava, but he has called it Shashta bhava. Shashta means six, because probably there are so many attributes to this bhava that we will. Okay, just give me a second, please. Okay. The sixth house or the sixth bhava is all about death-like suffering. The first word that Parashara has used, that it has the energy of Antaka. Who is Antaka? Antaka is nobody but another name for Yama. I have given you this painting over here. This is the painting of Yama. Okay, as Antaka. Why is Yama associated with the sixth house? Now, naturally, the Karaka for this bhava is Saturn. We are not surprised, is it? So, Karaka of the bhava is Saturn. So, the Karaka will give all its attributes to this house. So, suffering and punishment and fears. Punishment, such great degree of suffering, you will feel you are punished. You will feel you have apprehensions, you have trembling fear in your soul. You don't know why you have such fear. You will suffer so much from a variety of things. And these sufferings can be inflicted from the outside, that is the external suffering, okay, or it can be external suffering. Oh my God. Oh my God. Yes, can all of you hear me? Somebody logged in and took my presenter role. Can people hear me? Okay. Somebody had somebody logged in. Yes, thanks, Manoj. Somebody suddenly came in and took the presenter role. So anyway, let's go back. Well, we are discussing sixth house. We should have a little bit of these disturbances, I think. Yes, where were we? We were saying that the suffering can be inflicted from the outside, that is external suffering, or it can be inflicted from the inside. Now you can see that the internal enemies, as we call it, the internal causes of the suffering often also comes from the eighth house, and that's why I think Guruji has referred and talked about it in the eighth house as well. But I will deal with it here, so when we come to the eighth house, you will understand it. When we talk about external causes of suffering, what can it be? It can be disease, any disease. That is, we are not talking about congenital disease or inherited disease. It can be any disease that can happen to us. It can just be a cirrhosis of liver. It can be whatever. It can be a skin disease, whatever. It can be enemies. So when we have disease, we suffer from disease. Now remember, Karaka is Shani. So we are getting all Shani attributes. Okay. So we suffer when we have disease. So that is a suffering. Sometimes the disease is so bad, we feel we are under some sort of a punishment. Sometimes it can be so bad, it can even be fatal, like something like cancer, and you think that you're going to die. So you know what that entails. So from the sixth house, we also see enemies. And that is why the suffering and the punishment can also come from enemies. All the enemies that we see, enemies can come from anywhere. It can come from inside your family, from your classroom, from your office. These are the places, right? Or just from your friend circle. These are enemies who will come in, and the enemies will hit you. They'll have conflicts with you. There'll be so many problems. Hence, what can you see? That this bhava is carrying the energy of Yama, or the god of death. Antaka. Okay, Antaka as Parashara calls. So these are external sufferings, right? Now, here we come. That enemies can be internal and external. Now, when you listen to these slides on the eighth bhava later on, you will see that actually later on we have transferred the internal enemies to the eighth house. That is because eighth house actually shows more congenital disease. See, the sixth house is the house of disease. But if I want to differentiate between the two, I can say that the sixth house is external disease, the disease that has come from the externalities, like it can be, even infections that we catch, whereas a lot of congenital disease and inherited diseases can be seen from the eighth house. Although the overall power for disease is the sixth house. Okay, sixth and eighth both control it. Similarly, when we talk about the enemies, sixth house definitely is the enemies, but we say that the eighth house are the internal enemies. All right, but I will discuss the internal enemies right in this bhava itself because it is more pertaining here, and then you can apply it in the eighth house. So, who are the internal enemies? The internal enemies are called the Shadripu. Now, you may think that why are we studying all this? This is the very foundation when you do Jyotish from the Shastra. Modern day or non-Shastric Jyotish will not teach you about the Shadripu. That when we are talking about enemies, whether eighth house enemies or sixth house enemies, the real and internal enemies are the Shadripus. Shad means six, Ripu means enemies. And who are these six enemies? You can see this is Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Mada, Moha, and Matsarya. What does it mean? Kama means all your desires, everything, not just sexual. Any kind of desire that you may have. Krodha means extreme anger. Okay. Lobha means avarice or extreme greed. Mada means arrogance. Moha means attachment, like fatal attachment, like fatal attraction. You heard of a movie called Fatal Attraction? So Moha is actually fatal attraction. And Matsarya is jealousy. These are what I have called in behavioral aberrations. So when you have these behavioral aberrations become your enemy. They are your internal enemy, because of which you suffer a lot of pain and suffering. Well, the Vedas go a little bit further. They tell us why are these aberrations caused, and they have said that these aberrations are caused by the five M's. What are the five M's? They are called the Panchamakara. The Panchamakara, or the five M's, actually cause these six aberrations of the mind. What are these five M's? It's Madhya. Madhya is alcohol. Mamsa. Mamsa means flesh. Matsya. Matsya means fish. Mudra. Mudra, there should be a little long A over here. Mudra means money or currency, and Maithuna, which means sexual union. That means when you overindulge, mark my word, when you are overindulging in the five M's or the Panchamakara, you overindulge in it, it creates certain aberrations of the mind. And these aberrations of the mind is what I mentioned earlier over here. And these aberrations of the mind become your own internal enemies. Okay, your own internal enemies. And because of this, we suffer. So the literal enemy, we have the actual external enemy. That's why somebody is doing this to me. But we have the internal enemies also. So when we talk about these internal enemies, they really refer a lot to the eighth house as well. When I talk about the eighth house, you know, but I thought it was more contextual to explain this to you over here. That's why I have this slide over here. Have you conquered your six enemies? The real sadhu, you know, the enlightened one would have conquered these six enemies. We haven't conquered it. We all have it, some more, some less, but this is what causes all our real sufferings and pain. Okay? So external enemies are very easy to understand. External enemies cause conflicts. All right, it can just be quarrels, and it can even go to litigation. So litigation is also seen from the sixth house. I have a lot of litigation. I have people filing cases against me. I constantly seem to be in litigation. All this is sixth house issues. Now, sixth house, again, because it's Karaka Shani, sixth house also gives servants to us and subordinates to us who are serving us. So if you want to see servants, whether if the Saturn is very positive, we will be very fortunate to have servants, that is workers who are working under us, subordinates who are serving us, and we will be very fortunate. And if Shani is negative, at that time, when we have problems with domestic workers, we have problems with subordinates. Pets are also seen from the sixth house, because pets somehow comes under the category of subordinates. All right. Of course, I don't know what cat lovers would say to that, but pets are seen from this house. And then, of course, we have uncles and relatives. Now, you will say, what does Shani have to do with it? But our secondary Karaka Mercury of this house, so uncles and relatives. But, you know, we normally always use the primary Karaka. Okay, we always use the primary Karaka, and you should keep that in mind. Now we come to the seventh house. The seventh house is called Jaya Bhava. Who is Jaya? Jaya is the wife. Okay. If you say Shiva Jaya, that is Parvati's name. Now, if you recall, when I talked about Lagna Bhava to you, in Lagna Bhava, I had given you the picture of Brahma. Okay. Lagna Bhava had the picture of Brahma because that was the seat of Brahma, and it was the point of creation. That is the point where you are created and the entire horoscope is made. Right. In the fourth house in Matsu Bhava, I told you that the Matsu Bhava carries the energy of the divine mother, and we discussed that. And now the third Kendra we are going to discuss is the seventh house of Jaya Bhava. This is the energy of Shiva, the Shiva Sthana of the horoscope. Okay. This Bhava is predominated by Vayu Tattva. Very, very strong Vayu Tattva in this house. Why? Now, Shani and Rahu both get directional strength in this house. That is Big Bala. In the Kalpurusha, Shani is exalted in the seventh house of Kalpurusha. Okay, in the sign of Libra. So that is very high Vayu Tattva. Who is the lord of the deity of Vayu Tattva? The deity of Vayu Tattva is Shiva, none other than Shiva. Okay, it is the domain of Shiva, and you can almost depict him in the form of a Nataraja out here. The seventh house is also the sunset. If the first house or Lagna Bhava is sunrise, that is the time of Brahma, then the seventh house is the time of sunset and it is the time of Shiva. Evening time, sunset is the time of Shiva. Those of you who are from South India, all of you know that whenever you are worshipping Shiva, Pradosha Kala, all of you talk about Pradosha Kala is that exact evening time where many people who are fasting on Chaturdashis, they worship Shiva in that evening time, which is known as Pradosha. So that evening time or the sunset time, okay, that is known as, oh my God. You know, this is, I would really ask, all of you to tell your colleagues not to come into the meeting because it's really creating a problem. And anyway, so it is the sunset time. Okay, because it is the sunset time, it is a time of endings. Because once when the sun rises, it is when the sun rises, life is created, and when the sun sets, life ends. So it is the sunset time. Now you will also remember we had talked right in the beginning that Shiva is to do with the energy of destruction. You remember that you have a Srishti, Sthiti, and a Pralaya. So when you have Pralaya, the destruction, that is also associated with Shiva. So Shiva is associated with this time. So because it is a sunset time, because it is a time of ending, seventh house also has a certain death-like energy. That is why it is also called Maraka Bhava. You will know that both the second house and the seventh house are called Marakas, and the second lord and seventh lord are called Marakeshas. This is the reason why the seventh house is Marakesha. Because there is such a predominance of Vayu Tattva, it also denotes journeys. Seventh house talking about journeys over here. What kind of journeys? Yes, it is the journey when I catch a flight in a few days' time to go and attend the Bhava conference in London. Yes, it is that journey, but it is also the final journey. Antim Prayana, it is called the final journey, which is death. All right. So that is why again the death energy is coming about, both temporary and final journey. Again, we are talking about the involvement of Vayu out. Are you people getting it? This is a very deep essence of this Bhava. Hence, that is the reason why energy of Shiva, sunset time, energy of Maraka over there. Okay. Now, by now, all of you are thinking, hey, this is supposed to be the house of marriage. It is. You see, life is very complicated and it just cannot be divided into 12 houses. So each of the houses have a multiplicity of meanings and signification. So there is nothing to worry about that. Now, the other very important point about the seventh house is it is the Dwara. Remember this name, Dwara. Dwara means the door. So if I am born through the first house, then the house opposite me, the seventh house is the Dwara, is the door. And it is through that door, okay, through that door I will make my final depart, but it is through that door I communicate with the rest of the world. Hence, it is governing my relationship with the rest of the world, my interaction with the rest of the people. And that better be harmonious because I'm living in this world. Who is the first with whom I interact? Who is the first with whom I relate? Who is the most important one from the other? The Dwara is the other, the outside world. So I'm not talking about mother, father over here. They have their own houses. But when I'm communicating to the outside world, who is the first other that I'm communicating when I come to the door? But it is the spouse. That is my husband or my wife or my long-term partner. He or she is the person, is the main person whom that is why our partners or spouse, that is my husband or my wife, is seen from this house. Who else do we interact with? We are interacting also with our business partners, with the rest of the world. So hence this house is also to do with business. Now who is the Karaka of this house? But Shukra is the Karaka. So Shukra is dealing with marriage. Being the Karaka, it is giving us our partners and our marriage. Shukra also gives business. Shukra also gives journey, right? If you see in the previous slide, we talked about journey. Shukra is also giving journey. So these are all Venusian energy. And if Venus is very positive for me, my entire interaction with the outside world will be very positive. If I have a nice Venus in my horoscope, wherever it is placed, Venus in its own sign, maybe in in Taurus or Tula, or maybe Venus in Karka and moon sign, or maybe Venus exalted, my interaction with the opposite sex would be, or by just opposite sex with anybody else, would be very harmonious. I would be a very pleasing person with good manners and getting along with everybody. That is Venus. So if the Karaka is favoring you, remember, in sixth bhava, I said if Shani favors you, you shall be bestowed with non-problematic subordinates and workers. Similarly, if Venus is positive and harmonious in my chart, horoscope, my interaction with the world, with the outside world, will be very harmonious. General interaction, okay, will be harmonious. So, Dwara. So, what are the important things you learn? That Dwara Bhava, or it is also the uh, Shivasthana, it is the Maraka Bhava, and it is also the journey. Now we come to the eighth house. The eighth house is called Randhra Bhava. What does Randhra mean? Many people call it Ayu Bhava, this Bhava, that Bhava. No, Randhra Bhava. So now let's start at the beginning. Which is in the Kalpurusha, what is the sign in the eighth Bhava? It is Vrishchika, right? The sign is Vrishchika in the Kalpurusha, and it is ruled by Mangal and Ketu. Oh my God. So we have a node ruling out over there. Wherever there is a lordship of a node, there are some ifs and buts coming in over there. That is means the nodes are responsible for our birth and responsible for our birth, sorry, the rebirth in this life. We are reborn because of desires and because of certain unfulfilled past karmas or certain past karmas, we are reborn. And who brings you down? The nodes bring you down. We come down to the rope of Rahu Ketu, the karmic rope of Rahu Ketu. This is ruled by, co-lorded by Ketu, Vrishchika. See, this picture that you have, this is an ancient sculpture of Ketu, the divine serpent. All right. So the eighth house is carrying past life knowledges. Okay, carrying past life knowledges, carrying certain pains and certain certain things from the past life. Okay, things which are hidden from us, which we cannot see, our suffering. That's why now I'll come back to what I was discussing in sixth house. Again, the Karaka for this house is Shani. Primary Karakas given by Parashara is again Shani. So we are carrying over with the effects of the sixth house. And what did he say? We talked about the congenital disease. Okay, congenital disease, genetical disease, autoimmune systems, Down syndrome, inherited diseases, congenital defects, congenital birth defects, all are more eighth house kind of a thing. Chronic diseases, eighth house kind of a thing. Okay, brought in, down through Ketu. Of course, later on you will learn how to look at higher divisional charts and zinc charts, etc. But this is the essential role of Ketu, essential role of the nodes. They are bringing you down. Rahu and Ketu are really the opposite sides of the same coin. They are bringing you down over here. You are suffering. Okay. Now, if again Shani is positive here, it is said it will give you longevity. That is why it is called Ayu Bhava. So we do not see death over here. Are we very clear about this? We do not see death in this house. We say that Shani is Ayush Karaka. Shani has the power to bestow you with a long life. If Saturn is well placed in the eighth house, if Saturn is in the sixth house giving a Grahadrishti on the eighth house, it is Amrita Drishti. You'll have a long life. So Shani bestows Ayu. Ayu means longevity. So we are not looking at death over here. We are looking at longevity. But it is carrying all these past house burdens. And along with it, things which are hidden, because it's Vrishchika Rashi, things are hidden over there, that which you cannot see. Along with it, occult knowledge. Occult knowledge is not a very obvious knowledge. It's a body of knowledge that it is written. It includes Jyotish, it includes all kinds of things. That is why 8th house is very important for Jyotish studies. We say that the 11th house we should see for the study of Jyotish. Why? Because the 11th house is the fourth from the 8th house. I told you the basic education of the house is seen from Matru Bhava or the fourth house. So if the 8th house is your occult studies, the fourth house from that is the 11th house, which will show whether you can have basic education related to your Jyotish or any occult studies or not. And if you have a link with Atma Karaka over there somewhere, then definitely you will have past life association with Jyotish. You have a past life carrying over knowledge with Jyotish, and you are studying it as a Vedanga study, Shastra. Because only if you are doing Vedanga Shastra, you will see it as a spiritual science, and not just as houses and laws that bereft of any spiritual context. Because if you're studying it as a Shastra, you or a scripture, you cannot see it bereft of spirituality. Am I clear on this? So Atmakaraka means past life. So in the 11th house, the 11th lord is associated with Atmakaraka in any way, or is having the Rashidrishti of Atmakaraka in any way, then yes, you will be able to do your Jyotish studies. Okay? Now I don't want some of you to panic and say, oh, but I don't have this. Well, there must be somewhere or the other something somewhere which is missed out. I'm very sure you will have it. All right? Now, since we talked about karmic connections, we talked about past life knowledge, holding of past life knowledge, learning Jyotish in the Parampara, in the Shastra, these are all past life knowledge. So if it is to do with past lives, we are talking about the notion of death. What is death? Rina. The Sanskrit word over here is Rina. Rina means death. What are past life debts? We have some debts in a past life which we have not fulfilled. Hence, in this life, we must fulfill those debts. If we don't fulfill those debts, we will have some suffering. So, Rina, as you progress in your studies, you will learn that there are 5 kinds of Rina, or there are 5 kinds of debts. What are the present life debts? That is whether you will take loans or not. Can I take a loan? Can I take a bank loan? Can I take a bank loan and build a house or buy a car or whatever, set up my business? And will I be able to repay this loan? Or, is my 8th house so ill-disposed or so negative that if I take a loan, I will not be able to repay my debt? So a lot of people ask us these questions. Can we take a loan and will we have the ability to repay the debt? All this is seen from the 8th house. Okay. It is also the house from where you gamble. I forgot to mention that point in my slides here. It's a house from where you gamble. Okay. It's a house which is controlled by destiny, as you can see. So gamble. So those who want to gamble, whether on horses, whether on the lottery, 8th house is the house that you see. So with this, we have actually today ended these 4 houses, and then I have another 4 houses left. Before I do that, I'll take some questions. So that's why I kept the next 10 minutes or so. Okay, I don't want to hear all these technical things. Somebody has asked the question is Randhra. Yes, Randhra, you can look up Randhra yourself also. Randhra means like a point, a very deep, how shall I say, like woods, like trees have these gnarled points which are kind of inherited from the past. So it's kind of a point which is a hole which is inherited from the past. It's a very deep hole. It's a very deep wound. All right. It's a very deep kind of a hole out there. From this hole, you can actually connect to the past life. If 8th house are slow-moving planets, does it mean debts will be slowly? No, Tarun, not at all. You jump into the webinar at the last minute. No, not at all. It just means that Saturn in the 8th house is very good. You have to see a whole chart to see if you have planets which are not allowing you. I just can't say it offhand like this. You have to see a horoscope for it, that whether you will be able to clear debts or not. No, no, it just doesn't mean with slow moving planets. That's just very random. Anuradha, you will need to talk to somebody in your group and to work this out. I think you're unable to work how to work on this. I'm not going to spend time dealing with the technical issues. I understand if there has been some problem on my side and it's unclear. I don't want to waste time on this. This recording will be uploaded. I will not share the slides. Kunal, intelligence is seen and application of it is seen from the fifth house. Today you say, no, 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 no. See, Kunal, intelligence is seen from many different houses, you will see. But Lagna Pita, the Lagna Bhava, is intelligence. We studied that also in the last Bhava Chakra. I told you it is a point of creation, it is a seat, if Surya gets exalted over there. It is your head, because it's your head, it is to do with the intelligence, definitely. And the fifth house is also to do with the intelligence because Surya is the natural lord of that house. So the Surya being the natural lord of that house also gives intelligence. It is not only just the application, but it is also somebody who can learn properly and understand properly. It is also understanding of intelligence. For example, the Paka Lagna is the point where your Lagna Lord is placed. And the Paka Lagna is the point where you're digesting your intelligence and how your intelligence will function. So it is not that if this is correct and that is correct. You have to understand that the fifth house is also the house of intelligence because Surya, okay, Surya is lording the fifth house. Both are correct. Sonal has written how to understand Bhavat Bhavam significance of these are fifth being third from third. Was Bhavat Bhavam taught to you in this in your slide, Sonal? Was it taught to you? If Bhavat Bhavam is not taught to you as yet, I will see Bhavat Bhavam is a much more deeper concept. I don't think that it is taught in PJC 1. I'm a little bit unsure of that because it's a much, much more deeper concept. So I would need to check with Guruji before I discuss that, all right? Can you tell me exactly in which slide the Bhavat Bhavam was mentioned? Then I can always come back and discuss it in my concluding webinar on Bhavas. Okay. Theo has said if sixth house enemies, all the enemies we know that is we are aware of the enemy. The sixth house goes into secret enemies that people who are working. Sixth house is all enemies. Sixth house is the house of enemies. All right. Yeah, it's just all your enemies are out there. Any enemies. Concept of Gandanta going to be covered in detail in future classes. Yeah. I think Gandanta is covered a lot in the preliminary lessons. Look into Shubharambha. I think Gandanta should be covered over there because Gandanta is a part of Nakshatra as well. Kumar has written what if Lagnesha and Panchamesha are not in harmony? Lagnesha and Panchamesha not in harmony. Well, then it depends your relationship with your child, isn't it? Panchamesh, that is the Panchamesh would be your Putresha. Panchamesh, I got a bit confused with that word. Putresha will be your well, then what your relationship with your child should be seen that with the Lagnesha. That's what you will see. If fifth house is Aquarius sign, exalted Saturn and Rahu, fifth house is exalt Aquarius, exalted Saturn and Rahu, 11 to 1, 2, in Taurus in 8th house. Does it mean yantra, business or mantra knowledge will give benefits? Yeah, of course. Rahu is for yantra. Definitely, you will have a lot of occult knowledge in mantra and yantra. Definitely. That was a good point. If sun sits in the first house, does it do Karaka Bhavanasha? No, Anuradha, no. Absolutely not. If sun in the first bhava is a fantastic placement, such people will have such intelligence and such people will have such good health. Shani is in 6th house in Mula Trikona but retrograde, and how does it work? No. Shani per se in the 6th house is a very good placement. Very good placement. We don't want Saturn in the Kendra Bhavas. We want Saturn to be in the Dusthana. Saturn in the Kendra Bhava, Saturn in 6th Bhava is good. It is giving a drishti on the 8th house, which is very good. It is very good for Ayu. It has nothing to do with being retrograde. Being retrograde means that it will actually give results from the opposite signs. It will mean that The person will have to work very hard and try again. Mula Trikona is a good placement for any planet. Rahul was ways to control the Pancham. Ways to control the Pancham. You know, people who do really Vedic Tantra, that is the high level right-handed Tantra, the entire path of sadhana, Rahul, is all about controlling Panchamakara. You have asked a very, very deep question. So controlling Panchamakara is very, very difficult, extremely difficult. Yes, that is what people, sadhus, people who leave this life of a normal householder and enter into renunciation path. Their path is that of controlling the five makaras, Panchamakaras. Sixth Lord in eighth, or vice versa, is called Viparit Raja Yoga. Viparit Raja Yoga will be explained to you later, Kumar. It is not just sixth Lord in eighth or eighth Lord in sixth. It is also to do with the 12th house over there. Okay? So Viparit Raja Yoga will be taught to you in the yogas. It is not just sixth and eighth. Court cases, Karaka will be Shani or Rahu along with sixth house. No. We see, Tarun, all conflicts, and since litigation are to do with conflicts, we will see that in the sixth house. Okay? Sixth house will definitely show that there are conflicts happening over there. If you have a loaded sixth house, a lot of things happening, you will see that people, who have Lagnesha in the sixth house, they kind of, thrive on having conflicts with people or thrive on having court cases and things like that. No, it doesn't matter which ascendant, whoever BO45 is, because your name is not here. It doesn't matter that whether Saturn retrograde or any planet retrograde, it just means that planet has to try very hard. It gives you Cheshta Bala. No, all of you are asking about retrogression repeatedly. I don't know why. Retrogression just means it has a lot of Cheshta Bala. You will learn about it in detail in the third year, that is year 2B. It means that the planet has tremendous capacity to try again. People who have Saturn retrograde, those people are very hardworking because they try again. Ketu in the sixth house, how does it work for enemy and subordinates? Ketu in the sixth, well, it just depends. I mean, you may have people who steal from you, maybe. You just can't make a blanket statement like that. You people are just picking up things from your horoscopes and asking a question like that. You must study the entire horoscopes. You have to take the drishtis on it. You have to take the lagna in consideration. You have to take the lords and all those things. Ketu in the sixth house, I told you that malefic placed in the sixth house is good. But Ketu in the sixth house will mean that there will be some problems with theft. Your enemies may steal from you. Yeah. Eighth Lord in the eighth is good for occult, definitely, with luminaries. With luminaries. No, I don't like a luminary in the eighth house. The moon in the eighth house, Kunal, is the Maranakarak Sthana of Chandra. It's called Chandrashtama Dosha, the very bad place of the moon. Moon completely goes down. You know, the sign of Scorpio is the sign of the well. There's no light enters over there. And let me tell you a point. Kumbha and Vrishchika, that is the 8th house and the 11th house, are the two signs which are lorded by the nodes, one by Rahu, the other by Ketu. Because it is lorded by the nodes, the luminaries don't have much play over there. All right. The moon gets debilitated in that sign. No planets are exalted or debilitated in the sign of Kumbha. Okay, the luminaries are not happy over there. It's a place of darkness. Scorpio shows things which are below the earth. That is why we talk about things which are hidden. It is below the earth. It is like a deep well, like a stagnant water of a well which is below. So the water of Karka is a flowing river. The water of Pisces is still and expansive and peaceful like the ocean. And the water of Scorpio is stagnant and deep like the water of a well. Have you understood? These three are Jalarashis, but know the different nature of the water over here. So luminaries are not good in the 8th house. No, definitely not. I don't want the sun there either. Ketu and Mangal in 8th house will increase the debt. Not necessarily. Why will it? Mangal can give you a lot of money. It all depends on your horoscope. You can't make arbitrary comments like that. Does Jupiter in fifth house in Scorpio sign good follower and children? Jupiter in the fifth house per se is very good. Such people will definitely have a son. Such people will be very knowledgeable, very, very knowledgeable. Panchama Guru, very knowledgeable. And such people will learn properly and fantastic position of Jupiter. If 6 house is of Shadipu, then can any 6 letter mantra such as our Parampara mantra and Om Namah Shivaya will take yeah, very good point, Kumar. Yes, 6th house mantras are very good for the 6th house and for cleansing Shadipu. That is excellent. That is why you will see many Prasiddha mantras are always 6 letter, 8 letter, or 12 letter. 12 letters ones become more related to moksha, like Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, or many such other 12th letter Ishta mantras, because they are all moksha mantras which are related to 12th house. 8 Akshara, Ashtakshari mantras pertaining to the 8th house, Prasiddha mantras will be like Om Namo Narayanaya. Many mantras are there, and they are of course for cleansing the 8th house. Very true. Good question. All dashas of 6th house or 8th house primarily will always give negative results. No. Debilitated Jupiter in 7th house in Capricorn with Saturn. Debilitated and with Jupiter, then Saturn is giving Nicha Bhanga. If Saturn is in the 7th house debilitated with Jupiter, Saturn is giving Nicha Bhanga over there. Very nice. Shani is a very positive Shani. Worship Shiva all your life and your Jupiter will remain in a Nicha Bhanga state. Okay, does any house lord placed in the 7th house is considered as Marana Karak of that house lord? No house lord is Marana Karak. Planets get Marana Karak. Mangal is Marana Karak in the 7th house, and Mercury gets Marana Karak in 4th and 7th house. But definitely Mangal is the Marana Karak sthana of the 7th house. For the 5th house, you will see Sun, Jupiter, and 5th house. You are very correct, Tarun. You are very sharp. Yes, we will see 5th house. Correct, Tarun. I hope you are listening. We will see 5th house. We will see the 5th lord. We will see the Karaka Jupiter. These are the 3 things we will see first. If somebody is having issues about conception, then definitely we will see Sun. We will see Aruras of Sun. Then we go into a much more deeper level of study. Okay. What is the lord of the 5th, 6th, and 8th are conjoined in the 12th house? Oh, I don't know. You will have to decide on that. I don't know the horoscope. You ask me arbitrary questions like that, I don't know. Okay? So it is 8 o'clock precisely. I'm going to end now. And hopefully I will again, send you a mail. And I will put up the link because I think now in this recording, nothing has gone wrong. I will send you the link for this. I will put it up in my Google Drive. And then we will do the past 4 houses. And now all of you people like who are more newcomers like Anuradha and you guys, you should now go and listen to the slides, at least for the bhavas I have covered. Okay, now it should help you. And those of you already know a little bit Jyotish, it will anyway be easier for you, and some of you already studied it. Okay, thank you. Namaste.